Today in this video you'll learn how to create custom grass blades and patches, how you can optimize them so you can use them in large environments without making your computer cry. Alright, so right here in Blender I've opened up a new project. I have my dude, my reference scale dude, and I'm gonna move them out of the way. The first thing we have to create is the grass blades, which we will then use to create the grass patches. So Shift A and create a new plane, and what we want to do now is move the origin of this plane down to the bottom. So go into edit mode, select this edge right over here and press Shift S, cursor to select it. Now exit edit mode by pressing edit again and go space, set origin to 3D cursor, so this one right here. And now as you can see we have the origin right over there. So I'm gonna press Alt H and I'm gonna move this into the middle of the scene, the plane. Shift S, cursor to world origin, we're just gonna move the cursor back into the center of the world. And what I want to do now is rotate this guy upwards, so RX 90 degrees, just like that. I'm gonna apply the rotation and scale by pressing Ctrl A and choosing rotation and scale. I move down to the front view and I'm just gonna scale this guy, this plane, by pressing S and moving it down. Right, I guess a grass blade should be around ankle height, so I'm gonna scale it down until that sort of height. And now I want to press SX to make it a thin blade, just like this. So once we do that, we have this really rough blade, which cannot be named a blade right now, but it's gonna be a blade. So once we do that, Ctrl A again to apply rotation and scale. You're gonna do that every time you change the size of anything in Blender. So if you see me do this, right, really quickly and I forget to mention it, it's just Ctrl A and I apply the rotation and scale. Now what you wanna do is go into edit mode, go Ctrl R to add a bunch of loop cuts, right? So just add a few loop cuts in here. And now we are gonna turn on the proportional editing tool by going up here or just pressing O. And I'm gonna choose the sharp preset. Now I'm gonna select the top edge and I'm gonna go S, X and scale it down. And if you move the scroll mouse, you're gonna see this little ring around your cursor. This is the fall off, right? So this is how much of the scale is gonna affect the blade, right? So I'm just gonna make it be really thin at the top, just like that. And now I can exit the edit mode, apply rotation and scale again. I'm gonna press Ctrl 2 to add a subdivision modifier or level 2. So if you go down here, this is just a shortcut for that. And I'm gonna go into edit mode and I'm gonna add another loop cut right over there, just like that. Okay, so this is the first base of the grass blade. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna Shift D and move it a little bit to the sides like that. So I duplicated it and I moved it away. That is because I want to have this pure grass blade without any changes, and I'm gonna start making a few variations right here using this duplicate. So I'm gonna go tab, go into edit mode, and I'm gonna switch the proportional editing tool to the smooth preset. And now I'm just gonna play around, right? So select one of those and maybe rotate it like that, move it a little bit to the side, just select things and move them in order to create some interesting looking things, right? So this is one blade. I'm gonna copy this one again, Shift D, move it into the center and just repeat the process, right? So I'm gonna make it like this. Maybe this guy is a little bit like smaller, like that, right? Rotate a little bit, just like that. Okay, this is another grass blade. I'm gonna copy that guy once again and I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing so far. So yeah, just do this a bunch of times, and the more of those variations you create, then the more unique your grass patch is gonna end up looking. So now I'm gonna use this original mesh, just like that. Okay, so those are my 4 grass blades. What I want to do right now is, first of all, I'm gonna apply the subdivision, right? So I'm gonna choose all of those and apply the subdivision them. Okay, now what I want to do is go and create a solidify modifier. So first of all, select all of them, Control A, apply the rotation and scale because we've made a few changes. I'm gonna enable even thickness, and then I'm gonna do some really small thickness like that. Okay, even smaller, like 001, just like that. And now we have some grass blades, and I'm gonna select all of those and then select the last one, which I've just added the solidify, go Control L and do copy modifiers, and now all of those grass blades share the same modifier. Okay, now it's time to create the grass blade, and in order to do that, I'm gonna create a circle just like that, and it's going to be 0.3 in diameter, so 30 centimeters, and go into edit mode, press F to fill it the face. Now let's add a hair particle, like a particle system, choose hair, select advanced, and then before we move on, select all those grass blades that we've made, press M and put those into a new collection called blades. We can turn those off now, we don't need them anymore. Now I'm gonna go into the render tab, choose collection and choose blades, and as you can see we have those like that, but they are facing the wrong direction, which is kind of obvious. So select those blades, press RX minus 90, and now Control A, apply rotation and scale, and everything looks good right now. Next thing I want to do is play around with the scale, so I'm gonna make those blades a little bit bigger, so 0.18 it is for me. I'm gonna play around with the scale of randomness, right, because I don't want all of those to be the exact same size. I'm gonna enable the rotation, and I'm gonna change the phase and the randomized phase, just like that, so all of those are facing different ways. What you want to do next is go right under emission here, under source, and distribution, instead of jittered, go random. Okay, so now we have a grass patch, and if I go into render view, it looks like this, and it looks like some really cool grass patch, right? It looks like grass. What more can I say? So now it's time to actually texture and add a material, a grass material on those guys. So I'm gonna go back to my grass blade, just like that, and I'm gonna go into the shading tab, just like that, and let's make a new material. So let's say like grass, and all we have to do is play around with the color, right? We want to have some green color that's a little bit brighter on the top and a little bit darker on the bottom. So for that we are gonna create a gradient texture, and if you have the node wrangler enabled, you can do Control Shift click on this guy and you can see what's going on. You can get a preview. I'm gonna press Control T on those guys to have some mapping nodes, and instead of generated, I'm gonna go with UV. Now I'm gonna add a ramp node right after the gradient texture, and I'm gonna move the rotation minus 90. Okay, and now we have this gradient, which is exactly what we wanted. Before we move on, I'm gonna select those other grass blades. Select the one with the material, then go Control L and do link materials, and now they all share the exact same material. And now it's time to color our grass blades. So instead of pure black. I'm gonna go with some nice brown color for the bottom. Then I'm gonna go with a dark and rich green, just like that. Add a new node and make this a brighter green. And add another node and make this, just the tips, be really bright like that. Okay, and this right here is our grass blades, right? And if I am to put this into the base color and preview, then, well, this is our grass blades right now. I'm gonna make them a little bit shinier, 0.4. And I'm gonna add some noise texture. So go noise texture, and do a bump node. Add this into the height and this guy into the normal. And now it looks like shit, but we wanna increase the size to like 30, distance to 0.01, and the strength maybe 0.2, just enough. Right, it's subtle, but it has some graininess into the model, and we don't have just some really plastic looking grass. Next thing we can do is move this guy, like the color, back into the subsurface color, because we have grass and light goes through this guy. And I'm gonna turn on the render view. And now you can see that if I increase the subsurface scattering, the light will go through this guy. So this is way too much, right? I'm gonna go with 0.001, and the subsurface radius is messed up, so just put 0.2, and you can see the difference. Yes, right. This is 0, no light going through. And this is light going through. Okay, so I'm gonna go with 0.0012. I think that's enough. And now I can get back into the layout view, unhide my patch, and if I go rendered view, now we have grass. We have really nice grass. It's really high quality, and can put the camera right into the grass blades and they're gonna look amazing. So yeah, this is what we do so far. At this point, you can basically, for instance, you can turn this into an actual model, right? So you can make instances real and just hide the particle system. Okay, so now we have this guy in here. I'm gonna hide it. Now you have all those individual grass blades. So I'm gonna select everything. I'm gonna go to this tab over here, which is Object Data Properties, and press on this button over here. So it's gonna make everything its own object. I mean, not really, but you know, actually the better thing would be to put those into another collection. So I'm gonna call this high poly patch, so I can hide it more easily. And I'm gonna go around and do this to the original blades. Okay, so I'm gonna hide those, get back to my high poly grass patch, select everything just like that, and press Ctrl J to make them one single object. And now you can basically go to your terrain and just scatter this guy around the terrain, and you're gonna have just a grass field, a normal grass field. But that's gonna cost you. If you have a really big terrain that you wanna fill up with these grass patches, then your computers will start complaining and crying really easily. Because if you take a look at this single grass blade is 500,000 polygons, which is extreme and it's a lot. So how do we optimize this, right? Well, the way we are going to do it is by first of all hiding everything which is not the grass patch. And now I'm gonna add a camera. So Shift A, camera. Now press Alt R to put the rotation to 0, and now rotate it on the x-axis, so RX 90, like that. And if I go into the camera view by pressing numpad 0, I can change the type of the camera from perspective to orthographic. Play with the orthographic scale to make the grass patch fill up my entire frame. Move the camera up so it just started to the bottom, and now I can just render this image, right? So I'm gonna render this in 4K, so I'm just gonna increase the percentage from full HD to by 200%. Color depth, let's keep it 16. Compression none, and we can, before we hit render, we need to change the lighting, because we want to be able to use this optimized grass patches into any kind of lighting condition. And if we were to render this guy in with this kind of lighting, then it will not match other lighting conditions, right? Because you have the directionality, you have shadows, you have the highlights, and pretty much you know where the light is coming from, and you know it gets the light embedded into the image, and that's not what we want. So I'm gonna change the environment texture to be something that has a pretty uniform lighting and looks more like some ambient lighting rather than actual directional lighting. So I have this HDR that I know works, right? And it creates this really flat kind of image, right? You see the light is really uniform everywhere you look. The lighting is pretty much the same. So I'm gonna increase the brightness to be like 2.3 maybe, and just now I'm gonna hit F12 and render this image. Right now the texture, the render came out, and this is the result. So what I'm going to do is save up this image just like it is. I'm gonna call it grasses. That's great. Now I'm gonna go back to the project. I'm gonna delete the camera. I'm not gonna need that. Turn off the high poly patch, and then go Shift A, image, images as planes, and just choose the render we've just made. All right, so what you want to do right now is put the pivot at the bottom like we did at the beginning. So cursor to selected, then go set origin to 3D cursor, and that's it. Now move this guy up like this, and we don't need all of this black space. So what I'm going to do, go into edit mode, press K for the knife tool, and I'm gonna press somewhere on the edge, right? So press over there, then press A to go through a straight cut like that. Now press space once you're done, and I'm gonna delete this top face over here, and now you have this render. You have this render of some grass, which looks really nice. So we're gonna use we're pretty much gonna use this plane with this texture on top to create a really optimized grass patch. So it is exactly the same thing we've done before. So I'm gonna create a new circle, right? I'm gonna make it, let's say 0.5, half a meter. Go into edit mode, fill it up by pressing F, and now I can add in a particle system just like I did before. Going to render, choose object, and choose this object, right? And again, the directionality, the orientation is wrong. So to fix that, just go into rotation and use global X, just like that. Or not, you know what, it's better if you keep it normal. So press RX minus 90, apply texture and scale. And let's just add the randomize to the maximum. And now we have those grass blades, but let's just put like 100 of those, right? Keep it simple, maybe even like 50. Yeah, that works. And if I go into render view, we have some grass, some really optimized grass. Before I do anything else, I want to go to viewport display and turn off show emitter, like that. And now we have some really optimized grass. And it will happen that at certain angles you get those black parts showing, and that is because Blender has a limited number of light paths that go through transparency, and once it goes above that number, it will not render transparency anymore, so you get those black planes. So to do that, go to the top, go to light paths, and just increase the number for transparent. So it's 8, make it 16, and now you get rid of that. And if you, so for instance, look here, it's happening again, just increase this again, 20, like 30, okay, and you get rid of that. So just play with that number until it facilitates your needs. And now you have a really low poly version of those grass blades, right? Now instead of 500,000, you have like 36, which is, you know, you don't need to be a genius to understand that this is a lot more optimized. And now you can use this to just make really large grass fields without fucking up your computer.